The 2020 season did not end the way Ohio State wanted it to end. Well, they lost in the national championship, but still, when you look back at everything that this team went through with all the games that were canceled and all of that, still beating Clemson, getting the revenge against the Tigers, and then getting to the national championship, I still think it was a very good year for Ohio State. Let's just be honest here. Nobody was going to beat Alabama this past season. This team was just too good. This was a special team. I still think it's one of the greatest teams in the history of college football. So we look ahead at 2021, and will this team be better or will they be worse? That is the big question. And of course, we start off with Justin Fields. He is going to be gone. I know he had some struggles at times last year, but this is still an elite quarterback, an elite athlete. They are going to miss Justin Fields, and I think that's clearly the biggest loss from the 2020 season. Also, Trey Sermon at running back, he is going to be gone, so you're losing two big-time playmakers there. The good news for Ohio State, though, all of their receivers are going to be back. I know Mookie Cooper transferred, but he didn't really play or anything, so all of the receivers that contributed will be back. And so you talk about this offense, the skill positions, they're going to be really good there. And I even said last year, before the season began, I said that Ohio State had the best group of wide receivers in the country. Maybe not the top number one, number two receivers, but when you talk about 5-6 deep at wide receiver, I thought Ohio State had the best group, and they're all coming back. So this is a team absolutely loaded at wide receiver. Master Teague will be the guy to carry the load on offense more than likely. You've got Marcus Crowley back as well, and some other young players. They also added a 5-star running back this year in this recruiting class in Travion Henderson. We'll see what he can do. This was a big-time recruiting class for Ohio State, number 2 in the country according to the 24/7 composite. Several 5-stars on the roster, so that's all good. Offense looks really solid except for that quarterback position, and then we also look at the offensive line. I think they're in pretty good shape there as well. They lose Wyatt Davis, and he was a great player, but everyone else will be back. Thayer Munford was a senior. He's going to be back. So you've got a really strong offensive line coming back. You've got really talented players at the skill positions. But that quarterback spot, again, is the big question for them on that side of the ball. When we look at the defense, the front seven I think was pretty solid for Ohio State last year. They had their issues in the secondary, and they don't lose too much on the defensive line. Jonathan Cooper will be gone. Tommy Togai will be gone at defensive tackle. He had a really good year last year. So you're losing two really good players on the defensive line, but everyone else is back, and they have good depth there. I think probably the biggest position where they're going to be missing guys is linebacker. You lose Baron Browning, Justin Hilliard, Pete Werner. We're not talking about 3 of the best linebackers in the country, but these guys were good. They were solid, and they will be missed. Veteran presences there at linebacker, all 3 guys. So I think that's a pretty big blow when you talk about losing all these guys at linebacker. Tough Borland as well. Big question mark for Ohio State there at that linebacker spot. And then in the secondary, Shaun Wade will be gone, cornerback. A lot of people think he was overrated, but again, look at what Devontae Smith has done to every player that's tried to guard him last year. This is still a very talented player. He was an All-American last year. So they'll be missing him. Marcus Williamson will be back. He's a safety that was a senior. He's going to be using his extra year of eligibility to come back. Josh Proctor, Marcus Hooker will be back at safety, Sevin Banks at corner. So you've got most of the guys back, really everyone outside of Shaun Wade. But this is a secondary that, again, struggled last year. So overall, when you look at this team, you look at the recruiting class that they have coming in, I think the overall roster talent for Ohio State in 2021 might be a little bit better than 2020. But it's that one big position, the quarterback position, where I have a big question mark. They've got talented guys. We'll see what they look like. But at this point, without seeing them on the field, it's hard to say that they're going to be better at quarterback and even going to be as good as they were with Justin Fields. Kyle McCord, a freshman coming in who's a 5-star. I think he's going to have an opportunity. You've also got C.J. Stroud and Jack Miller, who were freshmen last year. So there's going to be a really good competition there at quarterback. But again, the drop-off there and just the fact that we don't know what we're going to get from these young guys, Because of that, I think Ohio State is probably overall not going to be quite as good in 2021. Also, the linebacker position as well that I talked about, the leaders of the defense. You got a lot of guys missing there. A secondary that struggled. I don't really see anything that makes me think they're going to be a lot better there. So I think Ohio State is maybe not quite as good in 2021. But the good news is I still think they're clearly the best team in the Big Ten. And they might actually have a better chance to win the national championship just because that Alabama team is gone. I know we still have Alabama, of course, but it's not going to be the same Alabama team that we saw last year. So I think there might be a chance for this team to still go all the way. It's going to come down to that quarterback spot. The results at the end of the day should still be there. They should still, again, be Big Ten champs right there in line for a college football playoff spot unless they slip up somewhere. And so, again, at the end of the day, the results might be better for Ohio State, possibly. But when we're just talking about how good this team is going to be, I do think the Buckeyes are a little bit worse in 2021.